What if you woke up tomorrow and it was all just gone? I don't mean just your phone or your Wi Fi, I mean everything. Every single circuit, every engine, every light bulb on the entire planet just switched off. Okay, let's really dive into this thought experiment. What would actually happen if all our technology vanished in an instant?
Seriously, just take a second and picture it. The alarm on your phone never goes off. The room is pitch black. The phone in your hand is just a dead piece of glass and metal. And then you notice it, the silence. The sudden, absolutely terrifying quiet of a world without its electronic heartbeat. Could we, as a species, even survive that? All right, let's break this down hour by hour. Those first moments would be the most critical. It'd be a sudden plunge into a reality our species hasn't known for well over a century. This is the story of that first unbelievable day. The speed of the collapse is what's truly mind-blowing here. In that very first hour, the world doesn't end with some big explosion, but with complete and total silence. Every phone call, every email, every satellite signal just stops. By hour 8, civilization itself is frozen. Cars with electronic systems die right on the freeways. Trains just halt on their tracks. And planes in the air, they basically become gliders. The gridlock is absolute. And by the end of that first day, as the sun sets on a dark and quiet world, that cold, hard realization would sink in. This isn't just a blackout. This is the end of the world as we know it. But that first day, that's just the beginning. See, our world is like this incredibly complex machine where every single part depends on another. You take out the main gear, technology, and the entire thing just starts to fall apart, piece by piece, like a chain of dominoes. Let's follow that chain reaction. So the first huge system to just evaporate wouldn't be something physical you can touch. It's an idea. The very concept of money, which for most of us is just numbers on a screen, would simply cease to exist. This right here really shows you how fragile our whole financial world is. Your bank account? Poof, gone. Your credit cards? Just plastic. Your entire life savings? Wiped out in a second. The whole global economy would instantly go back to its most basic form. Hey, what do you have that I need and what can we trade for it? Okay, so after the idea of money disappears, a much, much scarier reality starts to set in. The system that feeds billions of people is completely dependent on technology, and it would break almost immediately. Without power, all the refrigerated and frozen food on the planet starts to spoil. Without logistics and GPS, the transportation network collapses. Those tractors in the fields, the cargo ships on the ocean, the trucks on the highway, they're all just useless hunks of metal. Your local grocery store becomes the only source of food, and you better believe it would be picked clean in a matter of hours. So, with the systems for money and food totally gone, the next domino to fall is maybe the most personal and devastating one of all, our health. Modern medicine is an absolute technological marvel, and without that tech, it's just a house of cards ready to collapse. Let's just walk through how fast this would happen. First, hospitals go dark. Life support, MRIs, even the basic heart monitors, all dead. Then, the factories that make our medicines grind to a halt. No more antibiotics, no more insulin, no more vaccines. Basic sanitation systems would fail, which means diseases we haven't worried about in generations, like cholera, would make a terrifying comeback. Survival would go back to the absolute basics, finding clean water and remembering any herbal remedies we can. In a matter of months, not years, life expectancy would absolutely plummet. So what happens after all the chaos? After that initial horrifying collapse, humanity would have to adapt. We'd be forced to build a completely new and yet strangely old way of life. I mean, the contrast is just staggering. We go from a world where you can talk to someone on the other side of the planet instantly to a world where news literally travels at the speed of a horse. Life expectancy gets cut by more than half, and the entire sum of human knowledge, once right at our fingertips, is now trapped in silent libraries. Knowledge becomes local, something passed down by word of mouth. This table really breaks it down, doesn't it? Your job is no longer specialized, it's all about survival. You're a farmer, a hunter, a builder. Education isn't about getting a degree, it's about learning a real, practical skill from someone who knows how to do it. And travel? Forget planes and cars. It's about how far you can walk and all the dangers you're going to face along the way. You know, thinking about this new reality, it really makes you appreciate how we even got here in the first place. Our civilization wasn't built overnight. It was built on just a few massive inventions that changed everything.
From mastering fire to the simple genius of the wheel, to the printing press which let knowledge spread like wildfire, and finally, electricity, the very lifeblood of the world we just lost. Each one of those steps was a total revolution.
Okay, so what we've described is an almost unthinkable level of devastation, a world thrown back into darkness. But after the shockwave of collapse passes, a weird and kind of difficult question starts to come up. In losing everything, did we also maybe lose some things that were hurting us?
Let's explore a bit of a controversial idea here. This isn't to downplay the catastrophe at all, but it makes you ask, is every single part of our high-tech world a good thing? What might we actually gain by losing it all? I mean, just think about it. The air would clear up almost overnight. The constant pressure and anxiety from the digital world would just vanish. Human connection wouldn't happen through a screen anymore, it would be face-to-face. People would be forced to rely on their neighbors, creating smaller, tighter communities just to survive. And all of this leads us to the final, and maybe the most important question of all. If humanity somehow survived this great reset, what would happen next? Would we just do it all over again? You know that famous quote from George Santayana? It poses a really fascinating challenge in this whole scenario, because what happens if we literally couldn't remember the past? And this is the real kicker. Most of our collective memory, our history, our science, our art, it's all stored digitally. Without technology, we don't just lose our present, we lose the record of our past. The survivors would have stories, sure, but the details, the science, the blueprints, all of that would just fade away. So, could we do it again? Is that drive to discover and innovate just baked into our DNA as a species? Would we, generation after generation, rediscover the laws of physics, invent mathematics, and eventually build towering cities all over again? Or is there another, darker possibility? Without the roadmap of our past achievements and our past failures to guide us, would we just be stuck? Fated to live in small farming societies, forever looking up at the stars without ever knowing that we once actually reached for them? It's a question with no easy answer, and it really makes you think about the fragile, incredible world we live in today.